SaaS migration, what we recommend is, start off with doing an assessment of your current or legacy data, right? So understand, curate, and prioritize how you're using your data now with reports or definitions or integrations. And there are ways that you can then use some, if you're using our data cookbook tool, you can use some AI to auto-curate some of these old things. You don't have to do it with everything, but what you want to do, and we'll talk about this for reports, anything that you're going to move over, you want to at least sort of document there exists this report, this is the purpose of it, and when we recreate it in the new environment, this is what what it needs to be doing, right? So you want to capture those requirements. If we go through kind of all the stuff that you might want to catalog in your current thing, in the report catalog, you'd want to inventory and curate, maybe you've got eVisions, Argus, Informer, whatever kind of reports you have, your data systems. So this is talking about your existing Oracle system, or in a colleague, the other system. If you're using ODS and DDW, all those systems. Any integrations you have, SQL scripts, data orchestrator, Informatica, anything that needs to be recreated or is going to be retained after the fact, you want to catalog. And any glossary terms. If you have existing glossary definitions, great. But as you go through and catalog these reports that you want to change over, you're going to be capturing those functional definitions of these glossary terms, as well as with the integrations. So again, it's sort of capturing, using the old stuff to generate requirements, particularly functional requirements. In some cases, it's useful to document the technical details, because that's the only way really to understand, how you want to recreate it in a SaaS environment. And much in the world of colleague, it's not you'll sort of see a direct path between how it's going to live in insights and to where it was pulled before, or ethos APIs and things like that are made in the same or near the same. All right, so the first effort is to document that. Now, one of the things around documenting all the stuff is that, first of all, you want to kind of do it quickly. Don't worry about focusing on stuff you're going to not recreate, but of that stuff you recreate, you might have a lot of those things that nobody has looked at in a million years. Whoever wrote that old report that might be still used all the time, that person isn't around anymore, and all you know is you have this giant query or this giant PL SQL program or this giant unit queries, whatever it might be, depending on the old system. So this is something where our tool has the ability to if you inventory that component, so you can bring in like a bunch of SQL scripts or a bunch of PL SQL code or queries or other programs, and bring that into the application. We have a bulk load for that. And if you bring the code in, either the actual query or the package, you can run our AI analysis on it, and it can generate for you what the purpose of that, what it thinks is the purpose of that report, the AI, functional description, sort criteria, selection criteria, technical details, like how is it doing this? It'll propose the different data items, it propose business glossary terms, it can also calculate lineage. So it can try to figure out, how it's calculating stuff and produce that. And it's really actually good at it. The AI has gotten so good at figuring these things out. Then you can do a review of it and say, hey, I'm going to tweak it or change it and edit it, and then approve that, kind of sign off on that definition. And then that, is a good way to take that old report and turn that into functional requirements for the new report. Even though the source fields might change, you can capture the functional requirements by bringing that metadata into the cookbook, running the AI analysis tool on it, and it'll generate all of this this content for you based on just the actual code that's there. All right, so you do the assessment of what you have. Now, the second thing is, right, in your new environment, you've got your test environment or your implementation environment. You want to catalog that information. And mainly what you're trying to start off with is cataloging the existing data sources and existing package reports and those types of things. And then as you, to start off, so for that's, inventory and curate any of the insights reports in the new tool. Get the data warehouse if you can. We'll talk about this a bit in a minute, but the data lake and data access components are maybe not that discoverable. I think we're hoping we can get some ways to that. But all the APIs and GraphQL availability and those components, any data connect pipelines that you have or extended data connect integrations that you have started off with, you can document those as well. and what are those processes that are happening, and hopefully capture the lineage there. And then try to capture for those things that are in that environment any glossary terms associated for those items. So, and you can use that same AI process if you want to try to analyze some of the new things. But what's going to be important is, at least for the out of the box things that are in insights, decide, is this something that we want to, that we can use? Does that match for calculations and definitions that we've used before? That doesn't mean that you want to, like, if it doesn't, that doesn't mean you throw it out. There might be a valid use for that other definition, but it's important to acknowledge that that's different. Like, that thing that's in insights right now that Ellucian delivered, is calculating something different than what we've been doing before, right? And this is a critical thing. So, like, look at what that is and figure out, how is this calculating it, and is it the same as what we've documented before? But in order to do that, to avoid that issue where someone looks at a new report and says, that doesn't match the way I expect it, and undermines their entire experience with your student information system or your ERP, in order to solve that problem, you need to have a way to define, how was this calculated before very specifically, and how is it calculated now very specifically, and is it the same thing or not? And if it's not the same thing, can you clarify with them why it might be different, so that they can be, all right, I understand why that's different, so I can use that. But otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. So that's the key thing, to get those, like, citations and references for the new way to do that. And some of it will be like document what exists. Some is it, as I create new stuff, which is the third part here, is it govern, curate, and catalog any new SaaS data creation. So as you create new reports and insights, add new pipelines to load information in insights, build new dashboards or experience cards or whatever, and define new things, you want to capture that in the catalog so that you know that, hey, this new report is using this definition, this is how we're documenting it, and it matches what we had documented with the legacy system. And then that can help you then build out your long-term data help desk. So that content gets put in this catalog as people come through to request new things or search new things. You want to be able to, have them be able to reference this content. So part of that is building what we call points of engagement with this content. So it's not just stored in your data catalog, creating that help desk process as you create new stuff and get it documented, and pushing the content out to people to build the trust.